everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Girls Who Eat Brilliantly Motorsport. I'm Jamie, I'm your host, and my guest today is Katy Fairman. Welcome, Katy. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait.
I want to briefly mention the F1 75 Lives, what happened last week. I know you were there, and also a little discourse on social media. Of course, the FIA making a statement about the booing, and then also on TikTok, people were talking about the downfall of F1, that was the downfall for F1. I don't know how they tried to start it. I think it was more about the glitz and the glamour. What is your opinion about that?
Well, I thought it was quite an interesting event. It's obviously something very different for Formula One. Quite a lot of the traditionalists, I'm sure, probably weren't a fan of it, but I think it was overall a good, fun event. I wish that there was more different livery designs because it did feel very much like copy and paste from 2024. But overall, I think if it was just a one-off, like a celebration of the fact that 75 years and things like that, then I think it's okay. I think I wouldn't be a fan if it became every single year. I think that for this kind of one-off celebration, it's all good. But yeah, it was quite interesting being there. I mean, the booing, I certainly thought came like it was much louder actually being in the O2 than what was picked up on TV. I don't know if that's because I'm sat in the audience compared to the mics that they pick up down on the floor there. But yeah, I mean, I spoke a little bit about it in my most recent podcast that I have, Small Talk, and I said that I personally have never been to a sporting event and felt the need to boo anyone, whether that be tennis or football or whatever. But I know that it is common practice in other sports. But for me, if I don't like someone, I'm just going to stay silent. I'll cheer the people I do like. But yeah, the booing, it all felt very kind of pantomime. And I found it to be quite disrespectful. I know that people like Christian Horner has certainly been in the press a lot over the last year. This time last year, in fact, obviously he was everywhere. So he's obviously not flavour of the month, let's say. And for the FIA, I think that booing is maybe directed more to one individual than the organisation as a whole, because I've had my criticisms of the FIA in the past on previous podcasts that I've done, but a lot of it comes from a place of care. Like I sometimes think that because of one individual, a lot of people do forget that the FIA do so much good. I'm massively interested in the safety element of the sport, and the FIA, if it wasn't for them, we'd have so many more awful outcomes to incidents. So it's a shame that something like that has been booed, but I can see fans' reasoning behind it. But yeah, no, the event as a whole was cool. It was nice to see each team, how they approached their little 7-minute time slot differently. But yeah, I don't want it to become a thing every single year, if you know what I mean. But I can just see F1 being like, we'll make it a yearly thing, travel it around the world. But for me, I'm quite happy to just let teams do their own launches and leave it at that.
Yeah, I thought it was like it would have been worse. Like when I was watching it at home, I was like, it's not that bad. Like
Yeah,
most people are expecting it to be really bad, but I was like, okay, it's like it's not extremely okay, but it was like, it was great for what people were expecting.
yeah, definitely.
But then also I saw then the whole discourse on TikTok about it's the downfall of everyone. I was like, it's always been glitz and glamour. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. I think you've always had, performances. Well, maybe not always, but certainly in the last few years,
Mhm.
circuits especially are really leaning into that entertainment, like Silverstone putting on amazing music acts every evening of the race weekend, and you're seeing more people like Kota do it. They had Eminem and Sting and stuff last year. They've had Taylor Swift in the past. So I see the blend of entertainment and sport like over a race weekend. But yeah, I mean, you see it as well in other kind of sports. You know, look at, I don't know, the World Cup or something like that. They have music artists and things within that. So I know exactly the context you're talking about in terms of the downfall of F1. I have seen that on F1
Yeah.
TikTok. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about the creator that everybody's talking about, but yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily the downfall. I think it's
No.
just the landscape is just changing. And for lots of younger fans, newer fans that have come in over the last few years, like I think it's a great way to attract new people, and that's clearly what F1's all
Mhm.
about at the moment. Because as you will know, and I'm sure lots of people listening will know, F1 in motorsport is so addictive. Like once you get that tiny little window into this sport, you cannot let go. And so the more that F1 can do to kind of put the message out there and get the headlines and
Mhm.
have people talking about it and interest in it, then the more that fans were going to find out about this amazing sport that we've got.
Yeah, because it's always funny because I'm from the Netherlands, and sometimes I just see random people with like Red Bull merch. I'm like, I can't not escape from one by any means. Sometimes last week I was for who needs to go to the hospital to check something out, and I saw someone with merch. I'm like, yeah, okay, I cannot escape this, but yeah,
Literally. It used to be that you'd never see anyone in motorsport much. Now you can't even go like shopping centre or something without seeing someone.
yeah,
But it's always the awkward thing of like, do you approach them and say like, "Oh, Ferrari fan?" And then they'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
yeah.
So it's always the nervousness of that. But yeah, it is crazy. I love it. I think the more people that know about it, the better. The more online friends I can have to talk about it with.
Yeah, true. I know who you are, and maybe some listeners of me as well, but maybe not everybody. Can you tell us who you are and what your role is in motorsport?
Yeah, so my name is Katy Fairman, and I guess the thing I would best like how I would describe myself would be a motorsport journalist or motorsport writer. It's kind of where I found myself, like how I got into this industry. I've been a Formula One fan and a motorsport fan all my life. Grew up watching F1 and British touring cars with my mum and my dad and my brother, and then back in 2013, I think it was, in a break between my exams at school, I decided to create a blog, a free blog using, I think it was like a Google um, free thing site they had. I don't think it exists anymore. And was writing about F1 and my thoughts on certain subjects. I think Kimi had maybe just re signed for Ferrari around that time and things like that. So I was writing about this and I quickly really fell in love with it. It was kind of my little safe space, and I would use it a bit like a diary entry with no expectation that anyone would read it. But people started to, which was really cool, and it's kind of grown from there. And I've been able to travel with it. I didn't end up going to university or anything like that, so the way that I learned how to become a better journalist and a better writer was just to simply learn it myself, get out there, get into paddocks, build up my confidence, speak to teams, speak to drivers. I did a lot of stuff in Formula E, which is how we first met. And yeah, I love it. And from that, I've also found myself getting into podcasting. I also do a little bit of presenting and punditry work for Formula E and social media as well, kind of all singing or dancing. But yeah, it all started from creating this blog, which is crazy to think if I had never done that, what would my life look like now?
Mhm.
I'm so thankful to past Katy for taking that leap. But yeah, I guess that's probably how best to describe me.
Yeah, I know it's funny that you say that if the past me didn't do that. I always think sometimes things need to happen. Like I was supposed to study in Monaco, uh, then some things with my degree happened here in the Netherlands, so I couldn't continue there. But also, I would have never been in the Formula E paddock if that didn't happen. So how how sad I was that I couldn't continue studying in Monaco. How happy now I am that that happened, because otherwise I would have never done the things I've done this last year. So
It's totally true. I mean, when I created my blog, I was waiting for my A-level results, as they're called over here. And I had ambitions of being a teacher. It's something that I'd wanted to do since I literally started school from the age of 5 up until I was sort of 16, 17. And I got my results back and they were not very good. And so even though I worked really hard to get good results, it meant that I had to redo that first year again, which at the time, I was really embarrassed by, because all my other friends, I had some that also did similar, but most of my friends progressed into the next year. And it meant that by redoing my year, I'd never be in the same year at university as them. And, you just think, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. What am I going to do? But it was because of that, failing those exams and having started my blog that same time, that I thought, actually, maybe I'll change my subjects and I'll try and focus more on writing and media. And yeah, I mean, honestly, if I had passed those exams, I would be a teacher now. And it is honestly mad to think like a sequence of events can completely change the trajectory of your life. So, although, there are things that happen that are just plain and simple rubbish and awful, and, um, you can't necessarily maybe make the best out of a rubbish situation out of everything. I think you're right in that there are certain sequences of events that can completely change the direction of something, but for the better.
yeah, like I would never have met you or my other friends who I met like in the paddock. Like I'm like, yeah. If I was studying now, I wouldn't have met you all. And
Yeah,
it's always
exactly.
there's something I remind myself, like back then I was very sad. I was like, and now I need to go back to the Netherlands and you know living back home again. And but I wouldn't have had the opportunities I had now. So yeah,
Exactly. You can find the good things out of bad
yeah.
situations sometimes, which is a good thing to do.
What is your favorite racing series to follow?
Oh, that is a good one.
There's so many.
Yeah, I love it. I used to really be into the World Rally Championship, which I don't follow as closely anymore, but I always used to love watching that. Guys driving just on the edge the whole time. It was just insane to watch. But I think I'd probably have to say, um, either Formula E, which I know people be like, well, you actually work for Formula E, so this isn't like a paid deal. They're not going to give
No.
me anything for saying this. But I've always loved watching it. And, they recently introduced Attack Charge as well, which was, or Pit Boost, I should call it,
Yeah.
call it the right one. Otherwise I'll get in trouble. Pit Boost, which I thought was a really unique and cool addition, and I really missed it on the second day of the double header. But yeah, I really love Formula E. The drivers there are excellent. The level of competition is absolutely insane. I mean, for me, I love it because I can go into a race weekend and have no idea who's going to be taking home the pole position trophy or the winner's trophy or podiums trophies at any given point. Like, even 5 laps before the end of a race, you're like, I still have no idea who's going to win this, which is awesome. And of course, Formula One is a bit like my baby. I love That's what got me into racing, and I also really love the fact that there's so much history there. Obviously, Formula E is in season 11 now, so it's got 11 years of crazy moments. But for me, I love nothing more than going back through 50s, 60s, 70s F1 and discovering all of these incredible drivers that maybe unfortunately, passed away after just a handful of races, but had such bright futures. And yeah, the tracks that we used to race at, there's just so much to look into and learn. So I do love F1 for that reason, as well as, the racing last year was incredible as well. So
Yeah, I always have like a love-hate relationship with F1. It's like I have like when it's good, then it's good, but when it's bad, then like nope. I will skip. Like so,
yeah,
to be fair, some races I really skip because I'm like, yeah, I don't like that race, so I will see. I will watch it back when I have time. Um,
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I've had a few times over the last few years where like I've fallen a bit in and out of love with it. I won't maybe watch it as much. Like I got a Sunday job. This is like nearly 10 years ago, but it meant that I missed all the races on a Sunday because I was working. And yeah, it would be, I'd see the result and the same person might be winning all the time. And I think, oh, I'll kind of catch up on the highlight later. But now I'm fully committed and I won't miss a session.
yeah. Um, I always say also to a friend of mine, we're both like Dutch. Like we are like in like with Max. A lot of Dutch fans are obviously Max fans. And it's always funny because she told me like her predictions for this year, for the season, and she was like, yeah, maybe it's an unpopular opinion. And I was like, I agree with you. But also, we are not like the standard Dutch fans. So,
That's true.
so that was really funny. I was like, yeah, I think the same. But also, we are not like Max fans. Like,
Yeah.
so that's could be why you think it's an unpopular opinion. I mean, it's her predictions, and I was like, I agree with you. I, she had good, she had good things which she said. I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
that's very normal to like say. You never
Yeah.
know what happens.
I would say it's
This,
not over until the checkered flag, but
yeah,
sometimes that's not even the case because there's
yeah,
all sorts of post-race penalties. So
that's true. No, I was like, I think you can like predict something, but you can not be sure about things in motorsport.
exactly. I completely agree.
You know, it's still a car,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's the car still can say, yeah, no, I don't. I'm not working today.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's always really funny to hear a different opinion. Do you have any driver interactions that you love and you can talk about?
Hmm. I don't know. There's one that kind of springs to mind, but it's not something that happened at a race weekend that I was working with. But and hopefully he won't mind me telling the story. But a few years ago for the 2023 British Grand Prix, I was accredited media through Sports Illustrated, and I was walking through the paddock with one of my really good mates, Harry Benjamin, who does stuff for BBC 5 Live and also doing a bit on Sky now. I'm so proud of him. We've known each other for the longest time, so it's really cool to see him do well. But he was with Sam Bird, who races in Formula E for Neon McLaren and also does stuff on BBC 5 Live. He's an excellent co-commentator with Harry. And we were walking down the paddock and somebody stopped me for a photo and asked Sam basically to almost take it. It was so funny. And I think I think that might have hurt the ego a little bit for poor Sam because I can't understand. I'm like, this is Sam Bird. Like he's a really talented, like multi-race winning driver who's been around such a long time. So yeah, I think he afterwards kept sort of taking the mickey and being like, oh Katie, can I get a picture as well? But I told him off and was like, if you carry this on, I'll be really mean to you next media pen. So that was quite a funny like interaction, not while I was technically working. But yeah, there have been lots. I mean, especially in Formula E, all of the drivers are so lovely and if maybe you don't necessarily have the most productive interview in media pen, normally if I can find them afterwards and kind of have a chat with them, they're all, some of them just have bad days and don't like giving long detailed answers and stuff. But yeah, no, there have been some really nice interactions. I'm trying to think in F1. I feel like I talk about this story every single time I go on a podcast, but getting the opportunity to interview Sebastian Vettel was incredible. Like he's such a hero of mine. I think he's such an awesome individual. And so he gave me kind of so much extra time in before and after my interview with him at the Nürburgring in 2023. And, he's asking whereabouts I'm from, to which I was like, well, Sports Illustrated. And he's like, no, like, where do you live? So I said, oh, I live kind of on the south coast near a place called Brighton. He's like, yeah, I know it. And then I told him exactly the town that I live in. And he's like, yeah, I know exactly where that is. And then he was giving me like telling me the story of how he'd taken his family like in a camping van and like gone to all of these places along the south coast here in England. And I was just completely surprised. He said that there's a place nearby called Eastbourne, which is known for being full of lots of old people, basically. And I was like, you were in Eastbourne. Like, the idea of it was just so completely crazy to me. I was like, did anybody, recognize you? And he was like, no, like nobody at all. And I thought it's probably because nobody's going to go, oh yeah, Sebastian Vettel's in Eastbourne. That's normal. So normally I'll try and strike up a conversation with people before my interviews, whether that's asking them, how's your weekend been? How was your journey over here? What are your plans? Kind of after the race, to kind of soften things before you go straight in with the questions. And sometimes that can lead to some fun and interesting little tidbits that I will keep logged up here. But yeah, I feel like I've not really had any terrible interactions with drivers. So most of them have been nice and pleasant and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very lucky to work with some really lovely guys and girls.
Yeah, I mean, with Sam, I see Sam doing that, and it sounds really, it sounds really Sam.
It doesn't it just? I know. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Sam. I've yet to kind of remind him of that again, but who knows? Maybe if he gets on my bad side, which I don't think is possible with Sam because he's such a nice lad. But yeah, I can be like, don't forget that time. But yeah, that was a funny one. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I remember when I interviewed Sam in London, like, he was also really nice, like, he was introducing himself, like, oh, I'm Sam, I'm like,
Yeah.
sure. I
I
asked
know.
for this interview, so I know, but, it's always nice, like, people doing that, because, you never know.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time in my interviews and be like, hi, I'm Katy. And they're like, yes, Katy, I've spoken to you like 3 times now. I'm like, oh no, I just want to make sure that you like, that I've introduced myself, which is quite sweet. But yeah, no, Sam's a real sweetheart. He's great. And also, yeah, brilliant racing driver as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that I asked you if you can make your own circuit, from which sectors you want to. And then he called so many things. I'm like, it's not a circuit anymore.
Yeah, this circuit's going to be like 10 kilometers long.
I was like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. It's like, yeah, this is nice, and that is nice, and that is nice. I was like, yeah, it's it didn't turn into circuit. But always if I'm looking back at it, it's just funny. You're standing there. Robert Nominator was asking him about was Albert at Andretti. Oh yeah, but about Champ Evo, or what he was thinking. He was like, yeah, first this race, and he was like just turning circles around the question. I was like, okay, and then I was like doing this or that. I was like, yeah, team constructors or drivers, and he was like, yeah, drivers, but, and then he just it was like an explanation that more was like about constructors, because that was still reasonable. I was like, that's not how
Yeah, it's a one-word answer, mate. Come on.
That's not about how this was.
You've got other drivers to interview. You need this to be short and snappy.
I was like, this or that? No. And then on the Friday, because I was speaking with Mitch and with Nick, I was like, explaining to be sure that they knew that it just was one or the other, no explanation. But
no massive paragraphs needed.
It was so funny. I was like, yeah. And if I look back at that and I said that, I was pretty sure he was not continuing on Andretti by that point, because there was no reason to make like almost a PowerPoint about why it was constructors and not drivers. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's not how this and that work.
No.
But it was funny. And I remember the song was commenting, yeah, he just giving you a whole explanation. You wouldn't have to do that. But
Love it.
there's always funny moments. Like I was standing there, I was like, yeah, that's not how this works, but continue.
Oh,
I know, like my race weekends look different per series. How does a race weekend look for you? Looks like for you?
Um, let's talk through, yeah, what like maybe a Formula E race weekend looks like then. So, things will start normally on a Thursday, which is media day. So with that, maybe I'll have a sit down with a driver for a one-on-one piece. Some of those will be just me recording on my phone, just like a really casual sit down. Other times I might be mic'd up and it could be filmed for maybe like a YouTube show or a piece for the website. And then Friday is much of the same. For me, I still call it Media Day, but I know that that's not what it's called officially. But that's when you have your press conferences, which I will attend, media pen before the weekend, which is always good fun. And perhaps maybe I'll try and organize some more interviews with drivers in the morning. I'll try and do more evergreen stuff over a race weekend because there is so much going on that sometimes you just don't have the time to transcribe it and write it up and give it context and get it out. It will have a very short shelf life. And then Friday evenings is normally free practice one. There's also a shakedown in there sometimes. And then race days are crazy because you have practice very early in the morning. Sometimes, you've got to leave the hotel at like 5:30, 6 o'clock to get to the track, like especially a race like Monaco where everything is in one day, like free practice one and two are both in the morning. But normally it's just FP2 and then you've got qualifying and then the race. And so when those sessions are on, I'm also responsible for writing the reports for the Formula E website. Apart from the race, I don't do the race reports, thankfully. My colleague Sean looks after those because if you follow Formula E, you'll know that some of those races are pretty crazy. And normally, once the race is done, I kind of have to run off and get ready for press conference and media pen and stuff like that. So my colleague Sean very kindly takes that on. But yeah, it's a lot of just making sure that if there's any breaking news, that's also kept up to date on the website. Normally, after qualifying, we'll do an interview with the pole sitter. After the race, we'll kind of do pieces with the top three. And maybe if there's any kind of huge big stories, we'll get a few lines on that as well. So yeah, it's just keeping very busy. And then sometimes, like we had in Jeddah, you do it all again the next day. So no rest for the wicked, but I love it. It keeps me super busy. And yeah, you just get to spend your time absorbing all of this great racing action. And I love being on site. And sometimes I'm guilty of, watching something from afar and thinking, oh, I wish I could ask them this question. But when you're on site for Formula E, you're there and you can ask them. So I've got quite a good relationship as well with lots of the teams. So if there's anything that I need clarity on, I can just ping them a message on WhatsApp or whatever. So yeah, I love it. I feel so lucky that I'm able to do that now. And it is really cool how it's gone so full circle from going to cover Formula E out of my own pocket, during when I'm working a normal full-time job outside of motorsport to then doing it and representing the championship. It's cool when you kind of take five and think about that. So yeah, I'm very, very proud to be doing that. And yeah, lots of stuff in the week of trying to keep busy, trying to, working for other clients in motorsport or doing my own podcast, stuff like that. So a day in my life can look very different from one day to the next. I feel very lucky that I have that with my job.
Yeah, for me, if I'm saying the tracks being trackside, it's like, yeah, you're on. I'm tired after with London. I was so tired. Like on Monday, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and then I had to travel back. I was kind of happy I was traveling back by train, so I could just at least just sit in the train and just taking a nap is
Yeah,
absolutely
you
tired.
cannot beat a train nap, honestly. I love a good sleep on the train. It's
Yeah.
probably not something I should share. I think sometimes I say it to my mum and I'm like, "Oh, and then I slept on the train home." She's like, "No, don't do that. That's so dangerous." I'm like, "You don't understand. I need sleep all the time."
Yeah, like with a weekend like London when so much is happening, it's crazy. It's so you can't really explain it to people. You have to be there to
Mm.
understand how how it is. Because I remember like on the Saturday, I was like before the race, I was like I have so bad feeling about the race, and I don't know what, but I had so bad feeling about things that were happening, and then Jake Dennis starting doing was really a menace, and I was like, see, I there was something I don't know who or what it was supposed
You
to be, but there was
You
something
do, you get
happening,
a
and
vibe. That is so true. Sometimes before a race, and I just get a bad feeling in my stomach, and I'm like, something's not going to work. Like, be fine here.
yeah,
And 9 times out of 10, everything's absolutely fine. It's just the
yeah,
nerves and the anxiety like builds up inside of you, and you're suddenly like, stop the race. Something, I'm getting a bad vibe. But yeah, no, it is an intense day. I mean, in Jeddah, we didn't end up getting back to our hotel till about 3 o'clock one night, and this is in the morning. And then I was up again at sort of like 7, 8 the next morning to do a full race day. So yeah, that's not normal at
no,
all to have like 4 or 5 hours sleep. Um, but yeah, they can be really, really long days and then not much chance for rest. But that's what caffeine
yeah,
is for. And also just being on site and the energy that's around, like, yeah, any kind of tiredness for me goes straight away. Don't get me wrong, I still feel like I need the occasional nap during a Formula E race day, but that bypasses with all the excitement
yeah.
and adrenaline and stuff. So,
I think people forget that. Like I always say, there are a lot of young women who are want to do this kind of
mm,
stuff, but they have no no clue how it actually is. I'm like, it's nice, but it's also nerve wracking. It's everything at once. Like it's great when you be there and you can watch back to that, but
yeah,
sometimes in the moment you're like, no,
yeah.
okay, we have to continue.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I can cover a session. So, like, we had the rookie test in Jeddah, and I was able to watch that from one of the pit lane buildings. So, it was streamed on YouTube, so I could watch it on there and I could do the report, and it was all lovely, and I could watch the cars and track. But most of the time, I cover it from kind of a windowless cabin away from the racetrack. So, it's not as if I'm sat there writing a qualifying report at the exit of turn one and watching it all. So yeah, I wish it was like that where I could just rock up and drink some champagne and write the report. But yeah, the reality is very
Yeah,
different.
yeah. I mean, I think with social media, it's something a bit glamorized.
Mm,
Like I'm not happy if I'm trackside. Like that's the best thing ever. But
mm,
you're all like, there's no moment you actually can switch off, and it's not like you can just sit watching somewhere on the grandstand. It's like the moment the race ends, you need to prepare things. You know that the press conference is there, then the media pen. Like it's not so glamorous
yeah,
as people think. Um, and I mean I think that's also part of social media because
yeah,
most people show the, the nice things, which obviously is what everybody does. Like if you have a hard time, you will not put that on social media.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
so it's understandable. I'm always if I'm reading people, I'm like, know that if you're going to do this, you have to go in like hard.
mm,
Um, I know that it's not as glamorous as you think. Like you have great moments. Like I met
yeah,
people in the paddock, which I now can call my friends. But that all there's also a possibility that that doesn't happen. um, so yeah, I don't know. It's always like when I first entered the paddock in Monaco last year, I was so nervous because I didn't know anybody, and then I remember I saw people who were there. I was like, oh, hi. And then I sat with them, and then other people came, and they are now my friends. I didn't know them beforehand. But that is always, if I look back at it, it's crazy because I actually didn't know anybody.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. There's some good
Always, like,
people.
yeah. I think with the Formula E paddock, maybe I'm a bit biased. Um, Everybody is so nice.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to help you out, and they support you however they, in the capacity they can. You know, it's not always the case everywhere.
No, definitely. But yeah, most people in Formula E are lovely. So myself included, obviously.
Um, do you have any goals regarding your future in motorsport?
That's a really good one. I feel at the moment, like for the longest time, I just wanted to be able to call this my job. And then I got to do that. And now I wouldn't say I feel lost at all, but I don't really have any more goals. I don't really know what I want to do. Like obviously I enjoy my writing, but I don't know if I want to go down more of a presenting route or a pundit route. I mean, I've had a few people say like, "Oh, I really, you'd be really a great addition on something like Channel 4 or Sky," which is very kind for them to say. But I'm like, well, maybe that's something I should kind of look at getting into. But to be honest, I'm quite happy with going with the flow. I think one thing that I always need to remind myself is that we're all still so young, and lots of people that I really look up to and I idolize in motorsport, in sport in general, they didn't get their big breaks until maybe they were mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s. And so I do think that sometimes the comparison is so easily done on social media. You're like, oh my gosh, well that person's got these opportunities and she's only 21 and I'm nearly 30. Oh my gosh. But actually we've all got I've got youth on my side. Like I've accomplished a lot in the last 10 years that I'm really proud of, but I still have to keep reminding myself I'm still 29. I'm still a baby. So yeah, I think at the moment I'm kind of happy just to go with the flow. I accomplished something that I am really proud of, which is that I won the Motorsport UK Young Journalist of the Year award last year, and went and accepted my prize in last month. And that's something that I have really wanted to win for a long time. I don't know if anybody listening to the podcast is really into manifestation or not. Sometimes when you say manifestation, people roll their eyes and they're like, oh, that's all kind of witchy woo woo magic stuff. But I've certainly had it on a post-it note that I would win this award for like the last 5 years. And I never had the confidence to apply for it because I thought that I wasn't worthy enough, or looking at the caliber of people that have won it before me, I was like, I'm nowhere within that mix. So it's kind of always just been a bit of a dream. But then last year I thought, you know what, you have to be 30 and under to apply for it, and I'm approaching 30, so if it's kind of a now or never moment. And so yeah, I sent off for that, and I just kept telling myself I will win it, and I'm worthy of winning it, and I can win it, and all this kind of stuff. And then, sure enough, I got the phone call a couple of weeks after submitting it to say that I had won. So I'm not saying that necessarily manifestation is the reason I won it, because I also worked really blimmin' hard last year.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I have always kind of had in my mind of an achievement that I would really like to have. But yeah, after that, let's see where life takes me. Could end up writing for a dream publication, could end up doing more podcasting. I literally have no idea what the future holds, but I'm enjoying kind of not knowing and the fact that there are all these possibilities. So yeah.
Yeah, I always say, and that's what something I always tell people. There's like a Dutch saying, nee heb je ja kun je krijgen, which basically means like, if you don't ask, you never know. Because
Yeah.
always have a no, because that's what you tell yourself, but also could turn into a yes. And that's how a lot of things happen, like with accreditation for family. I was like, oh, I will just see what they need of me, and then next year will be fine. And then like 2 weeks before Monaco, got an email. I was like, oh yeah, you're accepted. I was like,
Hmm.
okay.
That's
Which,
nice.
like, if I didn't like try, I was like, oh, you never know. Let's try it and see what happens.
Exactly.
And that happened, and it brought me a
The
lot of
worst they can
things.
say is no.
Yes, that's what I mean. You always
Yeah,
have that no, and sometimes you think people will say no, and they are very willing to help you. So that's always what I'm telling people. Like, you never know. Just try. Like, the worst thing is no, but there's another door which might be open for you. So,
exactly. Love it.
what is the best advice you have gotten, and from who was it?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I think kind of similar to what we were literally just talking about is sort of just going for things. And like you said, the worst that somebody can say is no, or they could point you into the direction of somebody that could help you. But I think just kind of going for these opportunities is a really valuable one. And putting yourself out there, I think, is really important. I keep seeing loads of really wholesome content, especially on TikTok at the moment, which is people saying that there is room for everyone in terms of like content creation and stuff like that. There is a space for everyone, regardless of who you are, what you look like, where you're from, what your background is. There will be people out there that want to hear what you have to say. And so I think that just putting yourself out there is it sounds so easy. It's obviously quite a daunting prospect on the scary big old internet. But I think that's a really good piece of advice. I don't think any one person in particular told me that, but just generally, that would be the advice that I would give anyone. Just just start that podcast, create that TikTok, design and start posting on your own blog just like I did. And yeah, and we'll make space for you and we'll support you and it will be great.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The next question would be, what would you tell your younger self with the knowledge you have now? Which
I think copy and
is,
paste,
yeah.
baby. Yeah,
I,
just keep
I, al-
going and don't give
yeah.
up.
I always think it's funny. Like, I asked Jake a question, or I wanted to ask Jake a question about the season in London, and he also already had like mentioned stuff about it. Like, yeah, talking about it. But it's so funny because sometimes it just overlaps.
Yeah, no,
With this as well.
it's a good question. So I like it.
Is there someone you look up to? If so, who is this person and why?
Oh, there are so many incredible men and women that I look up to. Obviously, there are a few women role models in Formula One for me to look up to, but the ones that are there I find so inspiring. The likes of your Natalie Pinkham, Bernie Collins, I think, has been such a fantastic addition to the Sky F1 team. I think she's absolutely awesome. People like Louise Goodman, who does a lot of stuff still with F1, but I know her more now for her work that she does through British touring cars. And also, lots of my people that I can call close friends, journalists, people like Claire Cottingham is another great journalist and presenter kind of in this space. So yeah, there are so many people. And also, I get inspired by others, even if they're not doing the same or a similar job to me, but just people that have different stories to tell and experience in this, whether they're PRs or work in social or work in production, what presenters, whatever it may be. There's so much inspiration to be found from the tales of people that have either wanted to work in motorsport since they were young, or maybe they worked in another industry and found their way into motorsports. We're very lucky kind of in motor racing that there are so many incredible stories to be told. Drivers as well, I have to loop them in there. Some of their stories of how they've come back from massive, massive lows. I mean, we mentioned Sam Bird earlier. He's somebody that I find very inspiring, of how, he wanted to be in football, and then that didn't work out for him. So he then was in racing, and he had, I think he ran out of money and was going to basically become a personal trainer until he got given another opportunity to come back into racing. Um, and yeah, he's been able to work with some greats. Like he worked with Michael Schumacher when he was at Mercedes. He's also gone through a lot of loss. He was really good mates with Jules Bianchi. So yeah, he's somebody, and like people up and down the pit lane, drivers and engineers and everyone, like, they've all got stories similar. So yeah, I find inspiration through a lot of people in our industry. I think I'm very fortunate to work with lots of them as well through what I do. So yeah, I don't think there's one person in particular that I can say is my total inspiration, but rather just a cluster of really, really awesome people that I get to work with and can call my friends.
There's so many women in there are so many different series. I always like with Charlotte to look for McLaren who done W series, Extreme E.
Mm,
It's so strange to then realize she's now in Formula E paddock and that I share a paddock with her,
yeah,
essentially. So I'm like, I would never have thought that that was a possibility.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I think I remember I made a YouTube video. There was a question if was following women in motorsport, amazing women. Like so many, there's so many people you can say. There's there's no answer to that. There's so many
Yeah,
women you can women, but also like uh, men, obviously. But I was like, yeah, and then I knew now I need to choose who I mentioned, or and then I just made some pop-ups with some Instagram. So I was like, yeah, that was not everybody, but you know, it was a handful because
yeah.
there was way too many people to mention.
Yeah, we're lucky that there are so many good people that we can refer to for an answer like that.
Yeah, tips for people who want to do what you are doing.
Well, yeah, I think honestly, get on the, I guess, could you call it a ladder, and create that blog. I honestly think a blog is such a good way, or a Substack. Have a newsletter if you don't want to have a physical blog, but just somewhere that is maybe free, that you can write down your thoughts, your feelings, discover what your writing style is like, because I can adapt my style to different things. If I need to write in a really serious tone or something, I can do that. That's not a problem. But for me, one of the reasons that um, Tom Bellingham sort of asked me to join them at their WTF1 stuff was because he really liked my kind of chatty, informal writing style, where he said, like, every time I read something on your website, I could almost hear you reading it to me. So, distinguish how your writing style is. Find out what topics you enjoy writing about. I think is another big one. What do you enjoy researching? What's kind of your niche if you want to have something like that? But yeah, just finding a space for you to write about. You can even do things like post on LinkedIn if you wanted to. They have a tool where you can, submit a blog or something like that. So find a space and just keep that consistency and enjoy writing, and hopefully you can create a nice little portfolio and start sending that off to people and asking if there's any opportunities available. So yeah, that would be my advice for people that want to get into at least the motorsport journalism or writing side of things.
We also do always do like a followers question. I have three questions from there. What is your favorite memory with a driver?
Oh, I don't know. There are so many. Obviously, I mentioned a couple earlier, but one of my favorite memories, which I'm not going to name the driver because um, they don't need that, but I ended up on a night out with a driver once, which was quite an amusing experience for somebody's like leaving do. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. They were letting their hair down. Let's just put it that way. So that was a good laugh. Ended up like going from place to place with them and a few others until like 3 or 4 in the morning, which was a good laugh. But yeah, at the racetrack, I'm trying to think if I've got a favorite memory. Honestly, some of the interviews that I do probably count as favorite memories, just for the fact that, you know, I've had that milestone and I've been able to interview people that, yeah, I really admire. So I think probably something like that, but nothing comes to mind straight away that is like a complete standout. I'm lucky I've got lots of really good ones. So
What is your favorite motorsport event and why?
oh, well, apart from being the British bias, like I do love going to the British Grand Prix. The atmosphere there is absolutely awesome. And actually, shout out to Zandvoort because that was also a really fun atmosphere when I did that a few years ago. I love the Goodwood Festival of Speed. I feel like that I'm quite lucky because I am quite close to it. But if you are a motorsport fan that maybe can't afford to get yourself to a Grand Prix weekend, doing something like Festival of Speed is a great way to get up and close with maybe some of your favorite cars, if you're lucky, maybe even some of your favorite drivers, because quite a few drivers tend to go to that because it's in between races. But yeah, that's always got quite a fun festival sort of atmosphere if it's not chucking it down with rain, which could happen in British summertime. But yeah, I've got lots of really happy memories at Goodwood. Um, yeah, I don't know. And I also love British touring cars. I feel like that doesn't get enough love, and it's such a good championship. I appreciate I'm being very British centric here. But yeah, they're kind of the big events that I've been able to attend. I did go to Circuit of the Americas for the F1 a few years ago as well, which was absolutely awesome. So maybe if you're listening to this and you're in the Americas, maybe that's a bit more easily accessible than someone like Brands Hatch in the UK. But yeah, there's lots of really good places. And basically just put me anywhere where there's racing and I will enjoy it.
I mean, there are so many good. I've also heard good ones. I went to the 24 Hours of Spa in that season, which
Mm,
was I brought my dad for his first race, which was really nice to do. I've been to Austria. Uh,
mm.
it's
That's
also
definitely on my bucket list, yeah.
it's great. I was in general admission. It was great. Only the thing was, it was the year that a lot of things came out that the girls and women were like
Oh,
harassed,
yeah.
which I felt so bad. I'm always telling people like I had such a good time, and then we read, because I was with a group. We read that those things were happening, and we were like, how is this possible? Because obviously we didn't encounter that.
Yeah.
Maybe I was also lucky. I was Dutch, and all our neighbors were Dutch, so I think that maybe helped a little bit.
Mm.
We had a really nice neighbors, by the way. I remember that Josh, who also does some content creation, he joined us, and he was always American, and they had so much fun with him, and they were like giving him beer. And I remember one of our neighbors had like three cans beer left, and just was about to go to, I believe, to Rome or something,
Yeah.
and we had to drop him off to like at the train station. And those guys, they were like, "Yeah, we're going to leave, and we don't need them anymore. Here you go, it's yours." Which
Oh,
was
nice.
It was so really nice. We had so much fun. But it's always sad then if you it's so fun weekend and then read that those things
Mm.
happen. Like, you know, it's sad because that's you will then you're really looking out if there are things happening
Yeah.
which you wouldn't do normally. Um, but other than that, I had a really good weekend.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, that's definitely one of the circuits I'd like to visit if I
Yeah,
had the chance.
it was really nice. I mean, I was quite lucky. It was good weather as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Also helps. Um,
Yeah, there's
so
nothing worse than being sat in a grandstand, especially if you're general admission when it's chucking it down with rain and you're just soaking wet and cold and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you got very lucky with the weather.
yeah,
But I feel like Austria's normally pretty good. It's normally pretty hot and sunny there.
Yeah. Um, and I know this was the last follow-up question. You have met many motorsport personalities. Who is your most exciting contact in your phone or email?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't think I can say this anymore because I feel like he changed his number quite recently, but I had Pierre Gasly's number for a really long time, but not somebody that I would regularly text or anything. I
No.
did an interview with him when he had just finished GP2, I guess it would have been called back then. And that was kind of my first ever interview on the phone with somebody because I'd normally been speaking to people and just like emailing answers back and forth. But this one, he was like, "Oh yeah, call me on this day," and I ended up having like an hour-long phone call with him, and he gave me his personal mobile number, and it was just sat in my phone for ages. And I was like, "This is really weird." But yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's changed his number since then. And like I said, it's not like I ever drunk text or anything like that. Um, but I don't know who I've got in my phone um that would be like famous or anything. Um, I mean, I'm friends with quite a few kind of content creators and people in the media and stuff, so maybe one of them, but um I don't know. I'm trying to think of emails as well. Oh, you've put me on the spot. I can't think. But yeah, there's nobody that's like super high profile that I'm always, DMing on Instagram or something like that. But yeah, I think I've got a few names and numbers that or like mutual followers and stuff like that, which is quite cool. It's always nice when you get somebody, it's like so and so followed you back and you're like, oh, that's so cool because I think they're really, really amazing. And now they're gonna see all my rubbish content. Great. But yeah, I would say that Pierre Gasly I probably wouldn't be able to get better than a current F1 driver, even if that's not his number anymore. I'm not gonna ring it to find out.
Yeah, no, I should. I have no one at the moment, but it's
Give
always
it
so funny.
time. Yeah.
Um, I remember that someone I think Teresa, who does things from the German from the east side.
Mm.
And she asked the drivers that, and then someone was randomly saying, "Yeah, the girl Nina, but Nina who played in Vampire Diaries." And they
Yeah,
were like,
Nina Dobrev.
"Yeah." I was like,
I
"That's
feel
not."
like I remember that. Who was it that said that?
I don't know. Maybe it was Andre.
That was it. That was definitely it. It was definitely Andre. Yeah. Oh, that's so
But
funny.
I was so flabbergasted. I was like, I didn't expect that.
No, I'm guessing maybe there's like a Porsche link or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I love Vampire
Uh,
Diaries, so I'm very
yeah.
jealous.
I also remember when I like sort of studied in Monaco. I went to the Carrefour there, and I walked back. I went to the train station again, but I walked out, and I remember because now I was thinking about Andre, and when he walked towards me, but at the moment when I saw him, I didn't realize who he was. I was like, I know him from somewhere, but I don't know who it is. And at some point, when I was like back in my apartment, I was like, that was Andre. And it's so random because you know that like drivers live near the area, but you don't expect you bump
Yeah.
into people. I was like, I know you from something, but I can say who it is. And then suddenly it clicked. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I'm currently watching the preview of the new series of Drive to Survive. And there's some clips in there. I don't think I can say too much, but Charles is in a bit of it, and he's walking his dog around Monaco. And I just think, gosh, that must be so weird if you're just driving along and then you're like, oh, there's Charles walking Leo. But yeah, I guess it's such a small space. You're bound to kind of bump into someone at some point, surely.
Yeah, I
The
always
odds
think
are
it's
high.
yeah. I always think it's funny because sometimes I see people who into Charles and Max and all on the same day, and I've been there for like 8 months, and the only person who I bumped into was like Andre, and I don't know how people do that. To be fair,
No,
I am
you
quite
must be hanging around
impressed.
the wrong spots.
Probably, but I always think it's stuff. I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it.
No.
impressed.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, I don't know. What advice would you give your younger self? Although you still seem very young now, so
I'm turning 28 this year. I
nice.
always,
We're still babies. We're fine.
yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm old, and I'm like, no, I'm not old yet. There's still so many things I want to do.
Exactly.
Um,
That's a good attitude.
what I would tell my younger self, I think just don't hang, put one egg in one basket. Like,
Yeah.
explore more, because for a really long time I did horse riding, so I was very very into that, and I think if I opened my horizon a little bit earlier, I would maybe have more chances and done more things. But then again, I'm like, I wouldn't have been here if I don't made those like small mistakes and did those
Yeah.
things. So yeah, I don't
I
know.
think that's good.
And just enjoy the ride. Like, I think people sometimes are so focused on one thing. For a really long time, I was like, yeah, I only want to go into F1. And I'm like, but now, if I'm thinking now, I'm like, but other series also deserve great
Yeah.
people. So
Also getting straight into F1, it might
it's
look
very
easy
hard.
because yeah, there's people that have done it through maybe like content creation and they've gone from making videos in the bedroom to being in the F1 paddock and like great, I'm really pleased for them. But the reality is it's such
Mhm.
a like journey up to that point. Like I just want people to know that like don't have the expectations that maybe you'll come out of university and you'll be in F1 straight away. My like I guess biggest piece of advice would be to start smaller, whether that be as small as your local circuit and trying to get experience there on the weekends, or if you want to try and establish yourself in another paddock, something like Formula E or WEC. WEC's always a good place for there's so many manufacturers there, so many amazing drivers, um, whatever it may be, super bikes, any of it, touring cars. Start try not to start at the very top of F1 if you're looking for actual experience in the industry.
Yeah.
And you'll also be amazed at how many people who know somebody else that maybe works in an F1 team, that if you have a good relationship with somebody, they will recommend you or promote you. But yeah, I see a lot of people, and it's been the case since I started, like over 10 years ago, that say, oh, well, as soon as I finish my degree, I'm going to work in F1. And yes, that's happened for some people. I've got friends they've got placements when they're at university and they've been
Mhm.
able to work their way up. But I think for quite a big majority, um, there's loads of people that have come through Formula E, for example, whether that be press officers or other people that work in the media, and then from that they've got a job in F1. So, yeah, I know that's
Yeah.
not really the question for me, but I think it's good advice nonetheless.
No, but I agree. I think I always say, like, people think the only thing people think they need is a degree, but experience is also very
Yeah,
important. And like, I extended my team, and I've also like riders and that kind of stuff. But that was because I was like, I got an opportunity to, for example, be in a Formula E paddock. I want to give other people that opportunity as well, because you only learn by doing so, and um, it's also you building something for yourself, and you
yeah,
always have something to show, um, and that's what people forget. Like, it's great if you have a degree, but experience helps you as well. Like, for example, you didn't go to university,
yeah,
and some people forget that is also a possibility.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
No, it's good.
do you have another question for me? Or
You put me on the spot. I can't think of any. So,
no, that's
um,
fine.
but yeah, no, I've
Um,
really enjoyed this conversation, Jamie. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's been great. So, well, hopefully, I'll have a chance to see you at another race again soon.
Again, I want to thank you for being here. It's lovely speaking to you, and for my listeners, if you don't follow us on the socials already, in the description of this today's episode, you will find the link tree link with all of our socials and a WhatsApp code for the European races. And thank you for listening, and I will see you next time with another amazing guest.
Bye-bye.